Welcome to EchoNest Media, where we break down the hidden forces shaping pop culture. And today we're digging into something massive, the nostalgia economy. You've felt it everywhere, in movies, in music, in fashion, in the ads you scroll past without thinking. But here's the part. The entertainment industry doesn't want you to notice, nostalgia isn't a trend. It's one of the most profitable financial engines keeping Hollywood, the music industry, and major brands alive. Last year, Hollywood lost billions on new releases. Original films flopped, new franchises struggled. But nostalgia kept the entire system standing. These are the 10 things you need to know about how your memories turned into a multi-billion-dollar business. The first thing you need to know is this: nostalgia is Hollywood's safest bet. In 2024, over 80% of global box office revenue came from movies based on existing IP, sequels, remakes, reboots, or franchise extensions. Meanwhile, original movies barely cracked 6%. Disney's live-action Lion King made $1.6 billion. Barbie crossed $1.4 billion. The Harry Potter TV reboot got green-lit before the script was even finished. Studios follow the money, not the creativity. When executives can choose between a risky new story or a known brand that's been emotionally embedded in your childhood for decades, they choose the brand every single time. Nostalgia isn't optional. It's economic survival. The second thing you need to know is that Hollywood's reboot addiction has a financial root. The average mid-budget movie in 2010 cost around $40 million to make. Today, that same film costs $75 to $100 million. And marketing? It's often equal to or larger than the production budget. Audiences are fragmented across social media, streaming platforms, and games, meaning it's harder than ever to reach people with something unfamiliar. But nostalgia solves that. A studio doesn't have to explain who Ariel is, or why Barbie matters, or what Hogwarts stands for. You already know the emotional groundwork was laid years ago. Nostalgia isn't creativity, it's pre-built marketing. Third, the music industry is even more dependent on nostalgia than Hollywood catalog music. Songs older than 18 months now makes up nearly 70% of all streaming. That's unprecedented. In 2023, the top-selling vinyl album was a decade-old Taylor Swift record, Fleetwood Mac's Dreams, returned to the charts because of one TikTok video. Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill hit #1 in multiple countries nearly 40 years after release. Even in concerts, nostalgia dominates. The top-earning tours in 2023, Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, Coldplay, all leaned heavily on older hits. The emotional trust is already built in, so fans don't hesitate. Nostalgia doesn't just sell, it steamrolls new music. The fourth thing you need to know: fashion's comeback cycles are not random. They happen with surgical timing. In the early 2000s, Crocs were a joke. By 2023, the company was worth over $8 billion. Thanks to Gen Z rediscovering them and millennials embracing them out of comfort and childhood familiarity, Birkenstock's revival helped fuel a multi-billion-dollar IPO. Abercrombie went from a failing mall store to a top-performing brand after reinventing itself right when the generation who wore it as teenagers hit their 30s. Even luxury fashion taps nostalgia, like Prada bringing back nylon, or Miu Miu resurrecting mini-skirts straight out of Y2K. People don't buy the product, they buy the version of themselves they associate with it. The fifth thing you need to know: brands outside of fashion are using nostalgia for the same reason. It's reliable. When Pizza Hut revived its classic red roof logo, sales grew. Pepsi brought back its retro 1980s logo and saw a surge in brand engagement across social media. Burger King's rebrand was intentionally based on its 1970s look, because retro color palettes perform better in digital environments. Even fast food ads are styled to mimic the simple, saturated look of 80s and 90s food commercials. Why? Because nostalgia creates instant trust. It signals safety, simplicity, and comfort. And comfort makes people spend more. The sixth thing you need to know is that nostalgia isn't just just cultural. It's algorithmic. TikTok revives songs from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s weekly because people watched nostalgic sounds longer. YouTube pushes old commercials and childhood show clips because those videos get rewatched. Spotify's throwback playlists constantly outperform new release playlists. Even the resurgence of vinyl, cassettes, and retro video game aesthetics is supported by algorithmic behavior. If you linger on a nostalgic clip once, the algorithm interprets it as comfort and immediately floods your feed with more. Nostalgia is engineered into your digital environment. Seventh, nostalgia spikes during instability. Look at the data. After the 2008 recession, reboot culture exploded. Star Trek, Tron, The Karate Kid, Footloose all revived. After 2020, nostalgia became a cultural flood. Y2K fashion, 90s sitcoms trending again, re-releases of childhood snacks, old-school logo revivals. When the world feels chaotic, politically, economically, socially, people reach backward to the last era they felt emotionally grounded. Nostalgia becomes a coping mechanism. For corporations, that coping mechanism becomes profit. The more overwhelmed people feel, the more aggressively nostalgia content performs. The eighth thing you need to know: nostalgia is cheaper than originality. Creating new intellectual property requires world building, character development, audience testing, and massive marketing campaigns, all before anyone even knows if the idea works. But reviving something familiar shortcuts the process. Joker didn't need a character introduction. Barbie didn't need brand awareness. The Hunger Games prequel could rely on a decade of emotional investment. Even the upcoming Twilight and Harry Potter projects don't need to build hype. The hype was built back in 2008. Nostalgia cuts cost while boosting projected revenue, which is why executives use it as a financial strategy, not a creative one. Ninth, nostalgia works because it gives people emotional control. You can't control inflation, politics, or how fast technology is mutating your daily life, but you can control the shows you revisit. You can control the playlists you return to. You can wear the clothes that defined a simpler moment in your life. You can rewatch the sitcom that made you feel safe. Nostalgia lets people reconnect with versions of themselves they miss, versions that weren't exhausted, overwhelmed, or chronically online. Corporations monetizing nostalgia isn't manipulative by accident. It's intentional. When people are stressed, they spend more on comfort and familiarity, and nostalgia delivers both. And finally, the 10th thing you need to know: nostalgia is a cultural thermometer. The more studios lean on it, the less confidence they have in the future, and the less confidence audiences have too. If people were optimistic about what comes next, they'd invest emotionally in new ideas. But they're not. That's why the past feels louder than ever. The nostalgia economy isn't powered by memory, it's powered by uncertainty. When the world feels chaotic, companies sell your childhood back to you, and you buy it. Not because the past was perfect, but because the present feels unpredictable. But here's the twist: nostalgia isn't inherently bad. It can ground you. It can reconnect you with what mattered before life got complicated. It can remind you who you were before the world demanded more of you. The industry may be monetizing your memories, but you still decide what you carry forward. You still shape the future, even if the culture keeps trying to pull you backward. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to EchoNest Media for more cinematic breakdowns of the forces shaping our world. There's more coming.